Alrighty. What's up, everybody? Angron's calmest son here, and I'm giving you the definitive guide on how to make minor xenos cool once again. And as you can see, I'm in World Eater Retire, so you know the big man means big business. So let's get right to it. So, minor xenos. God, if you have been on the channel, if you've seen some of my videos, you know they're a big fixation of mine for a couple of reasons. So, one, let's talk about it from a logistical standpoint. There's a lot of reasons why and a lot of incentives as to why GW, the Black Library, whoever's really included in this discussion on how to bring them to the forefront, there's reasons and incentives as to why to bring them there. Number one, let's go with the obvious. Models. I myself don't play tabletop. However, I understand a lot of people either do or they like to simply paint the models and collect them and frame them and put them online. All really cool stuff. I can't do that. Super envious of that. I think that's awesome. So why cheat yourself out of money and potential customers who can invest in this, right? Really simple reason, right? This is the first one. The models are incentives for more people to invest in this. And someone on Reddit actually had a really good point to bring up on this. They said, why don't we make something like the FRUD, a kill team? And I thought, that's really cool. You can do that with Crew, Vespids. You have a shitload of options with the Tau as well, with the amount of auxiliary races that are mentioned, but hardly even really visible when it comes to the models and the narratives and novels and all this other good stuff, right? So of course, the first and most really logical reason would be GW's missing out on a lot of potential customers and a lot of potential money-making opportunities. But I don't give a shit about that. I don't work at GW, man. I'm not involved in GW. They don't watch my videos, and if they do, they should give me a sponsorship because, you know, my mom says I'm handsome, so that should count for something, right? No, but they don't. So number two, about how to make them, how to make minor xenos back and how to make them cool, right? Give them opportunities to be cool. Let's bring it up again, the FRUD. I really like the FRUD. They're really cool. These xenos that have this, control over time and this field that's sort of entropies and makes everything hyper age and deteriorate. Really cool and underutilized ability. Super cool, however, not super relevant. Only time they were extremely relevant when Perturabo had a campaign and had to fight against them and noted that they were extremely difficult to fight against. Right? How would you bring them back, Connor? Oh, I have some ideas. Well, and this is obviously not really self-contained to the FRUD only, but this could be applied to many of the minor xenos that I already mentioned previously. But this is just going to be like a one-off example, right? So the FRUD have really good potential to probably be featured in, let's say, a short story or a full-length novel, but keep it in the section of Warhammer horror. So, like Watcher in the Rain and something like that. You have regular humans, not Space Marines. Let's go, PDF or Guard, put on some backwater Imperial planet where they haven't had to deal with anything really major or significant in a long time. And we have the FRUD sort of migrate there. And some reports start piling up of villages, of people sort of being hyper-aged, and corpses are either extremely aged or just left in an almost dust-like state because they've been so hyper-aged. And buildings and weapons have been rusted and accelerated to a point that's almost preternatural and unexplainable, except for maybe some warp, confluctuance and nonsense, right? And we have this whole novel about how the Imperial Guard or the local, PDF are trying to deal with this Xenos threat. And obviously, if we're going real horror, we could just have the FRUD decimate most of them and leave a couple survivors, and then they just leave. And they realize they never stood a chance and that they could come back at any given time. Maybe a year, maybe 100 years from now, right? That's one avenue you could take. But with another one is really with the popularity of Space Marine 2 and the Rogue Trader game that's being released, you can include some of these minor xenos in, let's say, like the Inquisitor game from Owlcat. You can include them. You can, in future patches or DLC, you can add maybe Vespids or, Thraxons, and even maybe like, who else? Who else am I thinking of? There are so many minor xenos that you can include in this, and they don't necessarily need to even be Tau auxiliary races. They could be enslavers, the Crave. There are a lot of options to have here, and they all are cool, but the problem is they don't have opportunities to be cool because they're present only in like a side character way. They're passively existing. They're there, we know they're there, but nobody's really interested in them because they don't have opportunities to shine, right? So how do we make them cool? Well, again, you put them in novels, you put them in DLC, you put them in places where people are gonna see them. And if that doesn't work, you reintroduce these characters, or these races, and you give them a reason. You give people a reason to be interested in them. I'm not gonna sit here and pretend we don't have choices when it comes to what interests us in Warhammer. We have, the Space Marines. This include loyalists and traitors. The Admech, Imperial Assassins, Orcs, Yanari, Eldar, Dark Eldar, who else am I? The Tau, Leagues of Votan, Necrons. We have so many options, but either way, even and that being said, there's still a lot of underutilization. The Eldar don't really have a lot of novels, except now, actually, funnily enough, Lilith Hesperex did get a novel released. I heard it was really good, haven't read it yet. Twice Dead King, Infinite and Divine. Xenos are on the rise, and I think that's fantastic. But I also think there should be some love for minor Xenos, and maybe even some that got wiped out in the Great Crusade should have some little novels or short stories and like showcasing why they were a threat, why they were eradicated, and that's one of the ways, really. So I'm starting to stumble over myself because this is something I do care about. This is interesting stuff. And, I think everyone should be a little bit more interested in the minor Xenos, right? So that was, step number 2 would be, the second reason would be a lot of potential there and a lot of interest is there. They just need to capitalize it. GW needs to capitalize it. And that's how you make them cool. You introduce them again. You give people a reason to be invested. There's a reason you're invested in Space Marines because they're always there and they're selling. So hell yeah, you're going to get invested. But you should also get invested in Kroot because they have the unique ability to consume their prey and kind of exhibit and develop the traits and characteristics of what they consume. Again, that's a unique concept, and that's an interesting concept to explore. But people often don't really care because the Kroot are used in sort of an infantry-like way. You can, make a novel about a Kroot in their homeworld or in their, local native space of where they're inhabiting and have them go against maybe the Imperials or against, not even Space Marines, just normal Guard. That would be interesting. You're getting a leveled perspective and a level fighting field. They're on the same level of footing almost. Obviously, different tactics and technology aside. It creates a cool and interesting environment for someone to get interested and learn, and get invested in these cool ass aliens. You get what I'm saying? There's so many avenues and there's so many ways to make them cool. And let's go another one. Another one that I really like are the Vorg. Or if you're thinking, who or what are the Vorg? They are like bio-titans, these ginormous Godzilla-like aliens that are allied with the Tau. How you going to make people get interested in that, and maybe how you're going to show them more? I don't know. Let's have the Tau invade an Imperial planet with the Vorg because they've been putting up such a long fight and it's been a long war and a long conflict. Drop the Vorg in, boom. But little do we know, this is an Imperial Knight world. Have the Knights engage in conflict. 1,000 times more interesting and 1,000 times more likely someone's going to say, why aren't the Vorg in more Tau stories? Why aren't they at least present? You get what I'm saying? There's so many avenues and so many ways that these aliens can get flushed out and make them cool. There's so many ways that they can just be interesting, I said it before, man. Novels, DLC, short stories, and there's so many, man. But what I'm saying is these are some of the ways you can make them cool, but there's so many other ways as well, and I'm sure you guys have some. If you so, yes, you can tell. Let me slow down because the word aliens obviously triggering the nails, and the nails are biting, son. The nails are biting. But that being said, I understand that most people also probably have their own Xenos they'd like to see fleshed out, right? So you want to drop them in the comments, drop them in the comments. I'd love to hear about it, and I'd love to hear, reasons as to why you think they can be up there and why they should be up there. But that being said, that was the World Eater's Guide on how to make minor Xenos cool again. So, that being said, if you watched the whole video, thank you so much. 153 subscribers is pretty awesome. I'm happy that 100 people even remotely are interested in me talking about Warhammer, but thank you guys. It means a lot. We get 50 more subscribers. That makes us at 200, which is really 300, which kind of jumps to 500. So you want to subscribe, it's appreciated. But thank you. And if you watched the whole video, thank you. And other than that, guys, I am out of here.